a shirt on. I'm actually just sitting around in my sports bra, but
Yeah,
maybe I should put a shirt on. I look half naked.
yeah. Well, it did just go live, but that's okay.
It's okay. I mean, it's okay. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, it's a fine way to start. This is how most of these podcasts start. Welcome to the Eric Tries to Art podcast. I think it's episode 108 with comedian Phoenix. How are you doing, Phoenix?
I'm great. Hi, everybody. I'm great.
uh, this podcast is going better than most dates I've been on so far. So this is working out pretty well for me. How are
Okay.
you? No, I'm just fucking around. So your stand up. Are you based out of Baltimore? That's where I know you from.
I am. I am actually a. And sorry about this, guys. Okay, I'm so unorganized, but I'm getting better. So I am based out of Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore. These are like, okay, fuck it. It's the halftime show. There was a wardrobe malfunction, and I'm getting dressed. Okay. So I am based out of Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore, born and raised in Baltimore. Most of my comedy is here in Baltimore. Um, I have touched a few other cities, but my comedy has kind of spawned and kind of put positioned me to do some internet radio, and internet radio has positioned me for some FM feed, and I'm just at a point in life where whatever happens, happens.
Nice, nice. All right, well, tell me how, not just how you first got into doing comedy, but like, what was that first, do you remember the first moment where you really got into comedy as an art form, just your love of it, and what really made you feel like it was something special?
Um, So I'll say this. For the last 3 years, I'm gonna grab my charger too. Sorry. For the
No,
last
no,
three,
we're good.
for the last 3 years, I know they're like, "What the hell is she doing?" Like
Trust me,
everything.
this podcast usually starts with me having to scramble and do all that stuff. So this is a welcome change for me.
Oh, great.
But
So
no
I'm the
one's
scrambler.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's
So
good. It's good.
I actually, when I started comedy about 3 years ago, um, there was actually no, I had no intentions on doing comedy. Um, and I don't have on any lip gloss. That's gonna be a problem for me.
I convert all this to audio anyway. This just goes up as a video. Like that's
Oh,
the
it's cool.
side part of it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. There's no sweat. If the screen just went dark, it's because I turned my screen rotation on. So this is so much
There
better.
you go.
All
That's
right,
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
So um,
Well, if you weren't
I
looking to
actually
get into comedy, how did that happen? Yeah, how'd that happen?
I just finally started listening to people. I figured the masses couldn't be wrong. So I was actually I was actually out and getting something to eat from Subway, trying to eat fresh at the time. And I ran into Ricky Shackelford, who said to me, "Hey, I'm Ricky Shackelford. I'm Baltimore's first comedian, and I'm always looking for people, new talent to do my show. And if you can, if you be," and I said, "Well, yeah, sure, I'll do it." Like I wasn't working at the time. I had a part time every other weekend gig, not making a lot of money, and it was like, all right, well, I ain't doing anything else, and everybody's been telling me forever that, oh, you should be a stand up comedian. You should be a stand up comedian. And like my response was like, you don't just get on stage and tell people your personal business and expect it to be funny. Like who's gonna laugh at that? And so he said, well, just sell 10 tickets. And I said, okay. So I inboxed 10 friends and I said, hey, I'm gonna try stand up comedy for the first time, and I'd like for you guys to come. And they were all like, oh yeah, but let me bring somebody. And I'm like, no, don't bring anybody. And they're like, you gotta let me bring somebody. And I'm like, fine. So 10 turned into 17 friends, and he told me to prepare a 5 minute set, and I was like, I don't know what the hell to say. So I didn't really like prepare. It was just like
Yeah, what'd you say? What'd you talk about?
my fucked up life. I
Okay.
mean, I just talked about my jacked up life and just like, how things were. I mean, I talked about hardship. I talked about, kind of like those things that I was experiencing, not necessarily that day, but like
So
just
you got
being
honest
broke.
very quickly. Takes
Yeah,
a lot of times people spend years just trying to tell, set up punchline before they really get honest with the crowd. That's amazing that you were able to do that for your first time out.
really?
Yeah, a lot of people
Yeah,
do.
Oh, I would have
Maybe they just
never
don't
thought
have much
that.
to say.
Yeah, I would
Well,
have
maybe
never.
they just don't have much.
I would
Yeah.
have never thought that. I thought everybody starts out honest, and then you just kind of. So I thought. I don't know. I always thought the premise was maybe that you start out honest, and then as time goes on, honesty turns into embellishment. But yeah, I started out honest. I was broke. I mean, it was like I was broke. I was fat. I was a college student who owed Sally Mae. So it was like, hey, let's just talk about this shit. How real is it? More people experiencing it than you think. But I enjoyed it. And I was supposed to do 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. I was supposed to do 5 minutes, and um, I had 5 minutes kind of like mentally prepared, but nothing written. And I was waiting for kind of like a signal at 5 minutes to say, hey, wrap it up. And he let me go for 17 minutes.
Jeez, one for every person. That's really
Right.
amazing. You had 17 minutes. How'd you do?
I got a standing ovation my first time out the gate. And as I left because it wasn't actually a stage, it was actually just like a carpet. So
Yeah.
as I left like the stage, I walked over to my friends and they were all standing. And my girlfriend said to me, just so you know, we are not the only people in this room standing. And I was like, okay.
Oh, that's yeah.
So they asked me to come back, and I've been doing it ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. How often you go up? Like per week, would you say?
Um, per week. Um, not
Can we
often.
get
Not
we can adjust it.
often.
Okay, no, I got
Yeah,
you, got
like
you.
I mean, so I'm probably out maybe I'll say between 4 to 6 times a month.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, 4 to 6 times a month. So I'm probably doing, maybe like somebody's room. I'll do an open mic. I'll do somebody's show. Like now, I don't. I think I have something booked the latter part of the month, and then I know I have like April 8th, 9th, and 10th. That's two different
Yeah.
shows, but and then
Yeah,
I
but
don't,
you're
I,
getting these are booked shows. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, so just in your love of comedy, because everyone said you should. Did you? Okay, actually, here's a good question. Did you watch stand-up comedy before you started doing it, like a lot,
Mm-mm.
or was this? No. Okay. Any
No, no,
stand-up
not.
whatsoever? Like any? Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like the regular stuff, like like a Cat Williams special, the HBO stuff, but
Yeah, bigger stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I hadn't set out to do Now, there were a couple of people that I would watch late night, so I'd like watch maybe like Lisa Lampanelli late
Mhm.
night scrolling channels, stuff like that,
Yeah.
but never, like I never watched for like training purposes or kind of like to put myself out there. I watched because it was entertaining to me,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
wasn't really. I had no interest in doing comedy.
Yeah, but a lot of this is making sense because you kind of just I've my only experience watching you do comedy was you hosted the first open mic that I ever did, and so thank you for bringing me up. By the way, that's
Oh,
nice.
no
You're very
problem.
very kind. And but like what I saw was you did a couple bits, but a lot of crowd work type stuff and a lot of bringing people up. And I mean, at this point, between what I've performed at and what I've seen a lot of hosts, and you did a really fantastic job of kind of keeping the show going along, especially when you had, newer stand-ups, when you
Mm.
had a tired room, when you had and it makes a lot of sense that you not only came in uh, with kind of a blank slate with comedy, and you did it very honestly and naturally, but it makes sense why you had so many people who would tell you, "Oh, you'd be great at this," because it seems like you're just yourself, whether you're standing on stage or when you're in the crowd or anywhere you go in Subway eating fresh. I feel like you're always yourself, and that's
Even in
that persona.
Subway eating fresh. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'm one of those people. I think that's kind of like the only way to be. They say keep it real, keep it 100, or however it is they say it, whatever you choose to say today. But um, I'm just that person who, I'll say keep it 100, but at the same time, it's kind of like a hey, keep it 98 because I have to keep something for myself. If I'm giving
yeah,
you 100% all the time, but I'm just I'm a people person. I had a teacher in fifth grade who told my mom, and my mom never let me forget it. So some things just kind of okay, whatever. You think about it. Hindsight is 2020, as old people say. Um, I know old people, right? They're funny. Um,
right. Oh my
but
god,
my
right?
my mom always reminded me that I had a teacher in fifth grade who said to her, I expect to see her name in lights one day. So it was like when I started doing comedy and I started doing different things, and people were like, "Oh my God, you're funny. I like you. I love you. Come do my show, host my room, whatever the case may be." It was like, okay, so maybe this is those lights that she was talking about, because my mom like never let me forget it. But it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Did
you
that
know,
motivate you?
um, yeah, to a degree. Because I think it still has that air of wanting to make both my mom and my teacher proud. So it's got that, kind of like, yeah. It's like I think at some point I had to recognize that the lights aren't always necessarily going to be as bright as the big Hollywood sign, but lights are lights. So it's like, maybe my light is just in the refrigerator when you open the door. So
That's a good
yeah, that's
metaphor.
me. Yeah,
I like the kind of attitude you take on that, because there's a lot of different ways you can take. That's a very big compliment your teacher paid you, and to be more driven by it, like, ooh, I strive to make you or whoever feels positive about me proud. Like that's
yeah.
a definite positive motivator. I know a lot of people who I come from music, did music forever.
Okay.
I know so many people who got those early successes and those early compliments, and they just plateaued. They just didn't bother improving because they were just like, oh no, I'm great. I'm good.
Right, right.
I don't have that drive, and it kills them. And it just there are these musicians that I know who it just hurts because it's like what they created was so great, but then they just kind of stopped creating or stopped creating new and innovative things, and just petered out, and we're done. And that's I think that's a shame. So it's nice to see somebody like you taking that positive energy and this early success and actually having it motivate you.
Oh,
Have you
what?
have you ever bombed on stage?
Of course. Doesn't
Okay.
everybody bomb at least once?
Oh, absolutely. I just
Yeah.
because of your natural ability, it feels like, in your natural honesty, it feels like, and the early successes. I have a pretty good picture of what Phoenyx is like killing. I want to know what it's like when Phoenyx bombs. What can you tell me a story about that?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, I think the more you get out there and the more you get to know people, you kind of set this standard for yourself. But every time you're up there, there's an expectation from the people first. Um, so there's an expectation from the crowd, there's an expectation from your peers. And there have been times when but then there's an expectation of yourself. So sometimes there's been, like my expectation was like, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to rock this, and then it's like, yeah, so that didn't feel really good. And everybody else is going, you were great. And I'm thinking to myself, it was okay. But there was this one time in particular where um, I had a guy who asked me to do a show for like the anniversary of some NA members, some NA group members. And being from Baltimore, having seen so much, like being a product of like inner city youth and all, and so it was like, oh, this is gonna be easy because it's like they are in recovery, but um, I actually got booed that night
You
I
got booted
spent
in an NA thing. Oh my god.
because I spent a lot of time talking about their recovery,
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of time talking about the things that they did, when they were like actually, during the addiction period. And it was like, so it just kind of left this sour taste in their mouth. And it was finally like, you know what, we don't want to hear you talking about us like this anymore. And it was like, oh, okay, I guess I won't do that again. But I was actually booed. I got paid, but I got booed,
Yeah, but
you
that's
know. Yeah,
one of
so it
those
was,
things is more important than the
yeah, so,
other. Well, that makes that's interesting because it's is it times like that where the honesty goes too far, where it goes
hmm
wrong?
I'm so hungry. Sorry.
No, I don't care. Listen, the number one rule of podcasting is you should always be eating. That's what I've heard.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I'm here. Mhm.
All right. So you said you went to school, and you do have a very funny bit about owing to Sally Mae, or at least what I had heard. I don't know how many bits you have on it, but I definitely
That
recall a really
bitch.
good one.
I'm
Huh?
sorry. That bitch. Go ahead. I hate that bitch.
Where'd you go to school?
So undergrad, I went to Sojourner Douglas College, which is now closed. Grad school, I actually Coppin State University was the home school, but it was a collaborative program with University of Baltimore.
Huh.
So Coppin UB,
Yeah, what'd you study?
Human Services Admin, Human Services Administration. So by trade, I am a human services worker. Like I work in all dynamics of the human services field. I've worked with everybody from women in transitional housing and shelter to women and children, early childhood development, um, persons with addiction.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have a master's in psychology, and I've worked with people with addiction. I usually work with a lot of like in the past I've worked with very like severe mental disorders, and
Yeah,
in
those
those
are the
cases,
best.
oh yeah. Well, before I went to get my master's, I just had the undergrad. I kind of had to work one of the outpatient hospital type jobs.
Hmm.
It was I did a lot of casework stuff, and I
Hmm.
definitely relate to a lot of the human services. I understand the frustrations, and a lot of people. By the way, a lot of people I've met in Baltimore comedy
Hmm.
work in some kind like in
Feel
some
where
kind
they're
of field.
helping somebody.
Yeah, yeah,
They work in the helping professions, and this is our outlet. Yeah,
yeah,
this is true. I know a nurse who's a stand-up comedian.
yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, I mean, you help people all day, and then you got to shake it off.
Yeah. So how do you and even comedy aside, how do you shake it off? Because it's a profession, especially where with what you do, where if you want to be good at it, the emotions definitely transfer and weigh really heavily on you at the end of the day. So how do you tend to shake it off? Like, do you have a strategy?
A strategy. Does vodka and the horseshoe count as a strategy?
Actually, yeah, that's a way to
Okay,
blow off
so
steam.
vodka and the horseshoe, vodka and any casino.
That seems very fun. I live near Maryland Live, and I'm whiskey and
Okay,
Maryland Live, so I definitely, yeah,
yeah.
that's a
So
great way to blow off steam.
just give me 3 hours in a slot machine and I'm good.
Is it slots? I was gonna say, what other games? What are your games? Just slots, or what do you play?
No, I'm learning to play dice. So I've been learning to do the craps table, and
Yep.
so far no good. House
Oh,
always wins.
my
Yeah,
my wife's a big
house
craps
always wins.
player. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you
I
play?
I was doing slots forever. I had so much fun with that. Especially the more drinks you have, the better the crazy slots up. I definitely do blackjack a lot.
Mm,
That's I love blackjack.
I don't have the patience for blackjack.
See, I
Yeah.
need it because I don't ever like. I love to gamble. Like love to the
Mm,
point where the other day I was bored and I went on
mm.
DraftKings and I bet a quarter on some like 3 day golf tournament. Like I don't watch golf. It's just like I feel like betting.
Did you
And
win?
no, not at all.
Okay.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I win a lot on football, but that I actually follow. But like I will bet on whatever. But I'm so like careful with my recklessness that I will only bet a certain amount of money. So I love as slow as a blackjack hand can go, the better for me. Because I just want to sit
See,
there and drink and hang out and bet
I don't
slow.
now. I don't do sports betting, but I do gamble. So what's funny to me about that is like I don't typically do table games because they're so slow. To me, it's too
Gotcha.
slow. You know, I don't have the patience. Um, so it's like I really don't. I don't have the patience for a table game, and plus, I don't like anybody telling me what to do. So, like even yeah, even at the dice table, it's like don't lean this way, don't use your phone. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'll go sit on a damn machine. Nobody's telling you
Yep.
what to do on a machine, and I can play three machines at one time, and
Yep.
I'm like, all right, good.
I love. If you ever play virtual craps,
No, I haven't. I should try that.
it's not bad. They'll have an actual like craps table on the side. This is Maryland Live anyway, and I've seen it at other ones. I've gone to like I've gone to a lot of casinos. That's like all we do for vacations, casinos and
Yeah, I go
Disney
to all
World.
of them.
Yeah,
I'm
but
going to
like
Atlantic City Friday.
oh nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
I was there the day before they shut down Revel, and it was
Oh,
a gorgeous. It was empty, but it was a gorgeous casino. It's a
yeah, I
shame that
remember Rebel.
you know. Well, the I know the virtual machines are pretty fun. Oh, so slots though. So I would assume you don't pull the lever, you hit the button because if you
Wait, this
want
is
it,
live?
it's live.
How live?
Nobody's watching. It goes directly to my private YouTube page, and then I take the audio later.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, no, it's that no listeners currently.
Oh.
How
Oh,
would
I
you,
was about. All right. Whoa. Okay, go ahead.
no, hold on. What would have changed?
I'm like, oh shit. Hold on. I gotta get dressed. Like,
No, 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 no.
okay.
It's all going to be audio anyway. That's hilarious.
Hmm.
uh,
I'm
uh,
so slow.
it's all
They're
good.
gonna see. They're gonna see me drinking like a fucking half a gallon of V8 Splash and shit.
Oh, Fiat. What's your flavor? Fiat Splash.
This is
I could.
strawberry lemonade. Yeah, this is
Nice.
strawberry lemonade. It's like doing a nice little
Uh,
commercial for V8 Splash. Always looking for sponsorship. V8.
exactly. I'm a big Fiat Fusion guy myself. It's not a big
Okay,
deal. It's not a big deal
those
at
are pretty
all.
good though.
I do. I love them. The blackberry pomegranate. I think that's my one. Yeah. That's. By the way, I could talk about. This is so funny. I could talk about V8 and gambling all day. Now,
You need a V.
do you have any crazy big wins or big loss stories from gambling?
Every fucking story is a big loss story. I lose often, but I lose so much. I just want to click. I just want to claim professional loser on my fucking taxes every year. But I actually did win. I won $1,900 one night, and it was
On a
so
slot
funny
pull?
on a slot. And we had I had gone out with my friends, and I was like, hey, let's go to the casino, and they were like, no, we're tired, we're going home. And I was like, fine, I'll go by my damn self. And I went down there, and I was there 15 minutes, and I was playing 75 cents, and I won $1,900. And I'm so slow, so damn dumb. I'm so interested in just playing. It's not about the win for me. It's just about like clearing my head. Like I have no thoughts when I'm in the casino. And there was like a group of Asian guys beside me, like like an Asian, they were all out with their friends.
Yeah.
And the guy turns around and he's like, "You won $1,900," and I was like, 19000. Okay, where? Oh, okay, all right, yeah, $1,900. So it was like, so yeah, that was like a good night. I gave them $100. I shouldn't have said
Nice.
that. That was nice, but I shouldn't have said that. I didn't give my friends $100, but they didn't want to go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the most I've ever won on a single pull was 400, and
Okay.
I was it was my first time at a casino, and I was down like $300 at that point, and I was so like I was just bummed. I was really pissed off, and I'd been drinking for a while. My brother-in-law was with me, and he was up, and so he just kept buying rounds, and I won this, and I was still like angry. He's like, "Why are you angry? You just won $400." I was like, oh."
Right, well, you know what? But the truth is, like, as an avid gambler, by the time you win $400, but you're already down 300, you're like, what the fuck is $400? I
Yeah,
damn near spent 400 already. So it's like, I want money. Like, no, I want a hand payout. I don't want this bullshit.
yeah,
I want
exactly.
my bells to ring. I want people to walk by my machine and go, oh my God.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like, I want a hand payout.
Yeah. I swear, like every time I play slots for like, usually I'll do like quarter, 50 cent slots, and I'll play for just forever on like even a single line slot.
Hmm.
And I really want to I like doing interview podcasts. I do group like comic hang podcasts, but I also, anytime I get like a weird idea for just an hour of whatever podcast, I like to do that. And there's one I really want to do where I just have my recorder and I sit at a slot machine and I just talk into it while I'm playing slots because I swear to you, I have an existential crisis every time I play slots where I
Oh,
feel
you.
like this range of emotion where I go from life is pointless to like perfect zen to I
You
don't
just
know.
you just turn into Ron Burgundy. It's like I'm trapped in a glass case of emotion. But I
Yes,
go through that same shit because it's like okay, and some like I'll actually talk to my machine and I'm like, this is your last $20. If you don't pay out off of this $20, I'm going the fuck home. And why aren't you doing what your friend is doing down there? Your friend's down there paying out left and right. Do I have to go down there and talk to your friend? Because and I do that but it's like, I mean, only slot players like, see that and go, oh, she must be losing. But other people are like, this bitch must be crazy. So
I feel like that's absolutely true. I feel like there is definitely a culture of slot players, and I want to explore that further. I've never really thought about it too much, but
we should
yeah,
do it.
that's
We should
absolutely
do it.
yeah, absolutely,
We should hang up
absolutely.
and do it now.
I would yeah. Let me walk upstairs, honey. You watch the baby. I have to go and do vodka slots
Yes, yes, yes. Go
for
now.
the next. I feel like that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
for
Yeah,
until I drain the account.
yeah,
Until I drain the
exactly,
account,
exactly.
because it's like I'll walk
You
in
don't
and
need a
I'm like,
seat.
oh, it's just my car insurance. I'll just
Yep.
spend half of it. It's like,
I'll just be real careful this month. Just be
yeah, it's
real
like,
careful.
you know what? I'm only gonna spend $200 this round. So I
Yeah.
have a very firm, I have a very firm rule in the casino. It's like if I go to the ATM more than twice, it's time to leave.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I lose so see. I don't lose that much money each time because I'm very regimented about what I will let myself do. But I'm telling you this: the only times I've ever won, like left up, is when I went back to the ATM after I knew I
Right.
shouldn't.
Well, you know
Every
what?
single time.
And I'm gonna tell you something that's really funny is like I have this, hey, I'm only gonna spend this amount of money, and then there are times when I'll actually sit there and go, well, it is 11:55, and I'm at my max for the day, but at midnight I can go
It's the
back
new
because the
day.
max starts all over. So it's like I just take out half of the max, and then you look at your bank statement the next morning, and you're like, fuck, I need better friends.
What did I
Like I
do?
need, I need friends who are gonna say, "Get the hell out the casino."
Yeah, I
But
see. I see, because that's what happens to me. I have friends who a friend who was down. Like I kept. It was the night we went to Revel, and he was down. 500-600 bucks. We leave the casino, go to he was like, we got to go to a different one. We just got to go, and so then he's down another 300-400, and we just kind of leave because we're like, he's still playing, but we're like, I can't watch this. This is awful, and we come back out and he's up 900 bucks. Just like, all right.
right, it's like what happened? But I do. I have a couple of friends who will actually kind of like be like, "You need to cash that out." Now I have very firm rules. Don't hit my fucking button. Don't hit my
Oh
cash
yeah.
out button. Don't hit my fucking button. Okay. But I have like one or two friends who I will allow to hit the button, and I'll zap out. But when I wake up the next morning with my money in my pocket, it's like, thank God they hit the
Yeah.
button.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. My you and my wife would get along. She does not like it when I press her buttons
Don't
on
hit my
those
fucking
machines.
button. Leave my
Never,
fucking
never
button
do it.
alone. Don't raise my bet. Don't lower my bet. I'm not spending too much. I'm spending enough to win big.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Now I
listen,
could do.
our strategy is that because she'll play roulette and craps, and she tends to do pretty well. I think we're up in total in our history of gambling, but it's all me down and all her up, and that's why we're like just a little bit above
So
par.
technically, we're not up.
Yeah, we're
She's
not,
up.
I'm down. Yeah,
Right?
she's very
She's
much up.
she's up. Yeah, I
Well,
have
like
friends.
no, like she'll do. We have a strategy where anytime she wins, like big on something, we cash out, but then I give her the amount back that she started with, and I
Okay.
run and I cash out her like her slip, and then I'll keep that cash, and then we don't touch that cash. So it's basically like we'll lose what we're willing to lose. We'll play till we lose everything we were willing to lose at the beginning, and whatever we happen to win, we keep over. And that's been a very good strategy for us.
Yeah, I've tried that strategy once or one or
You're
two
looking at me
hundred
like a
times.
crazy.
Yeah, I tried that strategy 1 or 200 times. It never seems to work for me.
All right,
Like, yeah.
that's fair. Oh my god! And those every time I see like a high roller just come in and like roulette's big on this. Where I've seen
I,
people walk up and just put down piles and piles of
yeah,
like $10 chips. That's crazy.
I've seen guys do that at the dice table, and they're at the dice table, and they just walk up, and it's like a $25 minimum bet, and I'm standing there, and they're just like dropping $800 on the table, and and I'm like, that's, and in my mind, I'm going, 800 divided by 25. Oh my God, that's only, like this number of rolls, because clearly my math is not good, and because I couldn't even count my own 1900, and I'm like, oh, that's not a lot of rolls. I'm like, I can probably get more spins than you'll get rolls. Like this, no, this chances are too great, but everybody's got their vice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
some of us have multiple, and it's awesome.
yeah. I always tell
So
people,
no,
people who win big also lose big.
oh yeah, absolutely. And it
Yeah,
seems like the people who you see win big, like I've seen people win real, real big, and then I
yeah.
see them 3 hours later and they've blown it all,
And
or from
and
what I
they
can
they
tell.
looking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like
And with
I've seen people and they're like I've been in this casino for 11 hours. I was up by 1800 and now I gotta call my husband and I'm like shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going back to comedy, so it sounds like most of your gigs, like they're not open mics, they're more like booked gigs. Basically, that's typically where you're at.
Yeah, I bounce back and forth. I'm so okay. So the truth is, I'm really fucking lazy. So because I'm so lazy, you almost have to like look me in my eye and say, um, "Come and do my room," and I'll go,
Yeah.
"Okay." But if you just kind of like say, "Hey, my room's open. Can you come past my room?" I'll go, "Uh huh." And 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be home sitting on the couch going, I should really go and do somebody's room. And then I'll just go, but I got so much shit to do at home, 'cause my
Yeah.
radio show keeps me pretty busy. And
Yeah. Tell me about the radio show.
so my radio show is actually it's internet radio. It's on the rise with Phoenix. So we showcase local artists from all of the genres. I try to steer away from doing comedians because then we've got two comedians on the show. I started out doing comedians as kind of like my test pilot. So I've made a decision that rather than stay away from doing comedians, I'll just, kind of like do those other genres of the art. So we've done everybody from like this weekend we did a body painter, a
Oh,
guy who
cool.
actually does body paint. We've done authors, local authors who sing, um, motivational speakers. I can actually look over my schedule.
Yeah,
Dancers,
definitely. That's fascinating.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we actually did the guy who I know he does like all of Maryland. I mean, he everywhere, but he does the Michael Jackson tribute out on the street corner,
Mhm.
and he does. So we actually, I interviewed him, as a street performer, well, tribute artist. He's actually a Michael Jackson tribute artist. So we just did him recently. We did a young lady named Dr. J who started a fitness program called Cranked Up Cardio, which is based in Baltimore club music. So we just showcase, people who are,
Yeah.
and it's, essentially it's called On the Rise because Phoenix is the bird that
Yeah.
rises from the ashes. So it was kind of like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, play on words and give it that theme of these people who are up and coming. And they say you shouldn't use up and coming, but folks who are working their way,
On
you
the
know,
rise.
right, so they're going to be successful, but they're already successful in their own right, you
Yeah.
know. So, and that's on Crooked Streets Radio, www dot crooked streets with a Z
Yeah.
list dot.
Plug
All
anything
right,
as you go. I'll give you a chance to plug everything you want at the very end as well.
all
But
right, cool.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
No, that's really awesome.
and then we
Now yeah, go for it.
And then On the Rise has like a second segment where we're actually plugged into Hip Hop Chronicles over on Morgan Radio, WEAA FM. And I'm really excited about that show because oh my God, I just had like an awesome opportunity through that show. And that was, I had an opportunity to interview Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, so I'm excited about that. Um, yeah, and that's
No,
pretty
that's
much the radio life.
yeah, that's really cool. So that's what got you into radio. Was it just through comedy? Was it?
So actually, somebody came across my inbox one day and said, "Hey, when's your next show?" And I'm like, whatever the date was, and he's like, "I have a question. Do you have some time? Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Sure. As long as you call before Sons of Anarchy comes on, we can talk." 'Cause, and he said, he called. He said, "I have a radio show, and I'm looking for, a female voice, somebody who knows something about hip hop, and I, follow you on Facebook, and I see that you've got some hip hop knowledge. I'm curious to know if you'd be interested." And he took me to the studio, and he's like, "Hey, these are my friends, my colleagues. this is how the show works. It's internet radio. And I'm like, he's like, are you interested? And I was like, yeah, whatever. Because I'm pretty much like a never say no type person. I'll say yes to, a lot of opportunities. And I don't even necessarily see it as an opportunity at the moment. It's just kind of like a, yeah, whatever, sure. Yeah, all right. And I agreed to do it. And I actually did, sat alongside those two guys for about 2 years, maybe a little under, a little over 2 years. Um, and in the process of that, as the show kind of like, got a bit more inconsistent, we kind of grew inconsistent. But by then I had already gotten my feet wet and it was like, you know what, I want to do something else. I started doing some admin work for the station. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. I want to go back on, I said, let's try this, because I did, at that point, people were like, oh, I know you had a radio show. And it was like, shit, I can't tell them I stopped now,
Yeah.
so it was like, all right, fine. So now people are listening. So, all right, here, I want to, we're going to do a radio show. And I started on the Rise back in December of 2015. So it's actually only been on for a few months, but I was on the station for 2 years prior to starting my own show. And
Okay, cool.
yeah, so I left. So one show disbanded and the other, and On the Rise started. I was like,
Do you
okay.
bring a lot of comedy to your radio shows, or is it more straightforward interview and discussion?
No, it's actually probably mostly comedy and discussion. Like, let's just laugh and shoot the breeze. I mean, it's like we're just gonna laugh. We're just gonna talk about this shit, and it's we do. It's comedy. I'm a comedian, so I'm a
Yeah,
comedian
exactly.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
Okay, good.
comedian
That's a
first.
good way to put it.
Yeah.
Now, okay. So I want to. All right, I want to ask you about hip hop. So what are some of your iconic, or even just one like iconic hip hop album or albums?
Ah,
Because I want to
so
see
my
what like eras you're coming from. Like, yeah,
so I am an old school girl, so I'm like, 80s, 90s hip hop. Those are my like they will forever rank. But Jeezy is actually my favorite artist.
yeah,
And I didn't think that I was gonna be able to do trap music when it first started, and then I heard
yeah.
Jeezy, and I'm like, what is that? So Jeezy is actually my favorite artist. My favorite album ever when it comes to hip hop
Yeah.
is Liquid Swords by the Jizza.
Ooh, good one. That's a really
Jizza,
fucking
yeah,
good record.
Jizza's Liquid Swords is actually my favorite. My when I say I am willing to go and fuck up my grammar here, it's my most bestest, favoriteest album ever. Like there is not a track on there that I don't fucking love. Like the entire album is like a biography.
Yeah, that lyrically, well, beat wise too, but lyrically, so many of those Wu Tang spin off records or solo records around that time, it's just absurd how good they were. Even if like I mean, Jizz was amazing
Yeah,
on the records anyway, but even like
yeah.
lesser prevalent Wu Tang Clan members like Raekwon and whatnot are have these solo records that are just
What? Wait,
unbelievable.
when you say lesser prevalent, let's say Capadonna. Okay, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah, when you say lesser prevalent, say Capadonna. But I mean, like, I'm
I
gonna
mean,
I'm gonna cover my face. Say Capadonna when you say lesser prevalent. But
I,
I
I
mean,
can't
cause
even say Master Killer because nobody
no,
remembers who
you
that
you can
is.
you can say Mr. Killer.
But
Yeah, you can say Mr. Killer.
I should clarify. I really just mean not like the big six or seven. I mean like people who like
Raekwon is
who
part of the Big Six.
I
Raekwon is
guess
part of the Big Six. Raekwon is part of the Big Six. So the Big Six there is Method Man, Ghostface, Raekwon. Let's see, RZA, Jizza,
Mhm.
and that's a big five. And that sixth one is kind of like, oh, Dirty Bastard.
Yeah. I
Rest in
was
peace.
okay. All right. I guess
Yeah,
I should have said the number six. Okay.
yeah.
You know what? Let me analyze my own thought process on that.
Uh huh.
Um, I think it's because I am from the suburbs,
Okay.
and when it comes to Wu-Tang, we end up having a few big names that everybody knows, and then because that was the thing is as far like Raekwon was usually the first name that you'd think of.
The purple
Once
tape.
everyone else I went to ran out of Wu Tang Clan members that they could name, the next most popular one would be Raekwon. But like but that was seemed to be the cutoff. Everyone knew ODB, Method Man, RZA, GZA, and Ghostface. But then all of a
Right.
sudden, it's just like question marks. And so I think at some point in my head, despite actual prevalence, because now that I'm thinking about it, what I said was just ridiculous. Raekwon was a terrible example for that. But like, I'm just that was printed into my head when I was like 12 years old, and it just now it came out. I need.
Yeah, yeah, like don't like those little kids in the suburbs have steered you all wrong. Like
I know
curse
those
those little
bastards.
suburban kids who didn't know it. Yeah, curse those bastards. They didn't know any better. Like so, yeah, I can't believe. Okay, I mean to each his own.
Hey,
However,
we can
you
get
were
you and I.
wrong.
We can get past this. We can get past this. I
we
feel
have,
with
we have.
understanding, we can get past this. Yeah, like all right. So that's a really good. I've been like so. Here's the thing. I'm such a music hipster that like anything that came out within the last like 10, 15 years, I feel like I can't say it's my favorite of anything. Um,
Okay,
but like whenever I think of like favorite hip hop stuff, I mean it's hard. Like, and this is kind of like probably more. It's a great record, but nostalgia too. But like Life After Death was like the first rap album that really like got me into it, and so like I can't hear a song off that record without just being like stricken with love of that record. But that fucking Kanye record, the Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like just from a
okay.
musical standpoint, that was unbelievable. I've never heard, and not just hip hop, by the way. That's like all
It,
time kind of thing.
Yeah,
What's up?
Kanye's one of those artists who, he's kind of. I can honestly say Kanye has probably, and I will never say that he's run his course. Not at this time. He
Yeah,
hasn't run his course, and I think he was at a point in his career where maybe we were thinking that he had run his course. But he's made this phenomenal. It's not even really a comeback, but he's made this phenomenal turnaround where like he's back at that first, second Kanye style where we
yeah,
can respect him a little bit more. He's tamed the arrogance attack. He's tamed the arrogance within the music.
yes. Me. Well,
Seriously.
that's absolutely, and it reminds me very much of how the Beatles started out playing the "Hold My Hand" or whatever, like, and then all of a sudden there's this switch because they already perfected their own genre, and then all of a
Right.
sudden they had a hard left turn into brand something we'd never seen before, and I think that's like Kanye has managed to do. I actually, a friend of mine and I do a whole podcast on Kanye called "Keeping Up with the West," and every week we just every week we just talk about whatever he did that week and give a best of his Twitter page, and then sometimes we do classic Kanye where we bring up a controversy in the past. And but this thing that we keep hitting on is this separation between the man and the music, or at least the
yeah.
persona and the music. And like you pointed that
Yeah.
out, he's tamed the arrogance down a tad in the music because the music is where he's an undisputed fucking genius,
Yeah.
and
He is.
it's like and it's just this weird like two sides to this person that's just like I don't
Yeah.
know, it makes it even better. That's at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
um,
Kanye's like an octagon. He's got like 8 sides. It's like the
he
arrogant
does.
side, the ignorant side, the copacetic side, the Kimye side, the West side. He's got like so. He's definitely. There's no. There's not. He's unparalleled in
Yeah,
terms of just how he puts it out there, and I'm glad to see him make this turnaround because when it comes to what I'm willing to purchase, i.e., download. I'm
I mean, we're not
gonna
buying
purchase.
title. Let's all be
I'm
honest.
gonna purchase, aka download. When it comes to what I'm willing to purchase, um, Kanye is just one of those people where it's always like I gotta. Well, I need to hear 3 tracks first because like I don't want to buy into the arrogance, you
Mhm.
know. And I
Yeah,
feel
you
like
gotta if
yeah,
you can talk the shit if you're putting out quality stuff. That's why like I know that uh, uh, I'm trying to I don't want to like get this wrong. I guess this is the example I was remembering. How Cat Williams is putting out some pretty crazy videos, and
Cat Williams
uh,
needs meds.
and beating up people in what was it, a pool supply store, Anyway, he like someone, I forget what podcast it was, but somebody was making a point about like you can do stuff like that if you're constantly putting out quality shit. And
Right.
he did you watch the video where he challenged Kevin Hart? He was like, "I'm coming to Philly, and
Yeah.
you can come on. We'll play basketball or fight or whatever."
Yeah. It's
And
fucking crazy.
apparently, that Philly show turned into a complete disaster. Obviously, Kevin Hart did not show up as he should
Well,
not have.
there was a lot of like drama behind that because that went from like a Kevin Hart challenge to then a story of like him being beat up by Beanie's goons and
Yeah,
all of
that's
that.
right.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, well, damn. I mean, like you went from the comedy stage to the rap stage, and it's like you just you lose. I think we're rapidly losing respect for Cat Williams, But when it comes to just being out in that stand-up comedy world, you talked about how brutally honest I was just in my first show, and I think a lot of times people, can relate more to your honesty. And Cat's a really funny guy. Like, I mean, when it comes to he's top-notch funny, but that separation of the man from
Yeah.
the actual mission or the art is kind of like I think about people like Robin Williams who actually struggled privately,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah, we know his fate. So so I think Cat is kind of in this moment. It's a public struggle. It's a
Yeah.
public struggle.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Jeez. Yeah,
public
that's
struggle.
very
So
true.
clearly there is some mental illness there, and if it hasn't been declared or if it hasn't actually been diagnosed or defined by a doctor, I hope that he's able to, at least get some short-term help,
Damn. Well,
and
that's
kind of.
like yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with any of the drug use stuff, where there are so many people who self-medicate,
Yeah.
and the world kind of looks at it like, oh, they have a drug problem, but it's like the problem was something deeper, and the drugs were the self-medication. It's like
Yeah.
if you take a look at like I've watched every DMX biography and interview that I could possibly get my hands
And
on,
your
and
dog.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that Dark and Hell is Hot was like, oh my god, that fucking record. All right, well, like he is so clearly, and I hate to diagnose from afar because that's can't do that, but like it feels so clearly like there is. And he's probably even said it, if I'm remembering correctly, a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, and
Hmm.
the way that he goes from his depressive to manic shifts, like all the crazy stuff he gets arrested for, is a pure mania. It's not like
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
premeditated. It's just pure mania. And then on top of that, you have for the depression all the drug use. That's why a lot of people on with bipolar disorder, they end up going in and out of. They get clean, they're back
Hmm.
using, clean using, clean using, because that's the cycle of manic depression, bipolar, and it's. Yeah, and I think you're right. Like there's somebody who's going through these people go through public struggles,
Hmm.
and there's oftentimes not a lot of not enough sympathy or understanding, and it's just it's kind of crazy to just see that in the era of Twitter and YouTube, where you
Are we
can be
supposed?
privy to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, are we? Should we be sympathetic? I don't know. See, and I'm going to say from a human services perspective, should we be sympathetic or should we simply be accepting? Because at the end of the day, my
It's a good
philosophy,
distinction. Yeah,
my philosophy on that would be that, like it happens and it's no respecter of persons. So an individual who suffers from mental illness, that's not to say that they can't be successful. It just means that eventually the risk of, kind of like that boom, mental illness is alive and well in this person. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, is always possible.
Well, going back to public perception, and this I think relates to Kanye, possibly, like, but it's one of those things where it's like you can get away with that kind of public persona for whatever reason is the cause of that. Of
Hmm.
as long as you keep putting out quality material, like if 6 months from now Cat Williams puts out a special that's just
Hmm.
incredible, no one's going to give a shit about anything that's happening right now. Just like
Just
R. Kelly has his pee
pissed on,
scandal.
pissed, yeah, pissed on a little girl.
But
And
then
then
he put out Chocolate Factory. We're like, all right,
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I mean, it was probably more like a lemon factory, but um,
He
but we
in the opening in the opening track, he refers to a woman as his chocolate factory, and that
right.
is and on top of that. I mean, that's kind of funny, but on top of that, the record is so good. You're just like, whatever.
You couldn't help but step in the name of love.
It's like,
It was a lemon. It was a lemon factory. Piss is like lemon. So it's like, hey, how do I redeem myself? So basically, I think
you
what he told us with Chocolate Factory was I probably took a shit on the little girl too. You guys just didn't
yeah,
know it.
we turned off the camera. You just you couldn't. Did you ever see? God, there are two R. Kelly things that are just so funny. One, because he's like in on the joke probably for this, but Rolling Stone did like an interview with him, a video interview where they just gave him like weird word combinations and had him make sexual songs out of them, like songs like "Sex Dolphin" and like ice hockey love
And
and
he did
like
it.
sex news. Yeah, and he would just on the spot start singing, and the lyrics were kind of like whatever, kind of funny, but also kind of like shitty. But his melodies, he instantly was like, he's the king. It's just so good. Also, if you ever
Yeah.
get a chance to watch his video commentary for Trapped in the Closet,
hmm
it's some of the most unintentionally funny things I've ever seen in my life.
I
It's
you know
fantastic.
so you know what there's okay so there's like this really I have like this really bad um it's not bad but it's just like this really dumb story about Trapped in the Closet. So at the time that Trapped in the Closet was actually out, I was living in an apartment and my apartment was huge. And I would always keep the radio on. But I kept the radio on in the living room and I kept it like, down at like 3 or 4 so that the volume wasn't really high. But the radio ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It didn't matter. You're like, if I'm not home, the radio's still on. So when I came in, I would always hear the radio. And even in my sleep, I could hear the radio. And for months, I mean months, I kept hearing I was hearing the beat to Trapped in the Closet, but I wasn't hearing the lyrics because, when I'm out, I'm hearing the song and I know the song because, like I'm out, so I know the song. And I finally saw the video and it's like when I saw the video, it was on like part 6. And I'm like, well, what is this? And I'm watching it and I'm like, well, that's not what the song says. And then it was like, well, wait a minute. So I've been listening to the song over and over and over again, not knowing that the song was actually a build up, like it was a continuing story. So we were on like part 6 before I even knew that Trapped in the Closet was a mini series of
Yeah.
fucking, like R. Kelly fuck escapade. Excuse my French.
Yeah. No,
Can I
whatever.
speak French? Can I speak French? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, just
But you can't
checking.
swear. You can
Yeah.
speak the French language, but you can't swear.
Okay.
No, I don't give a shit. Yeah. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so funny. That's anything R. Kelly's wonderful. All right, well, we got to wrap up. So could you tell me any plugs where you can find your content, any projects you got working on, you're working on, and this will probably go up in the next week or two. Yeah, like within
Oh,
7-10 days. So anything out from that, if you want to plug, go for it.
all right, cool. So, I mean, first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me. That's first.
Oh,
So,
anytime, anytime.
yeah.
You're awesome. You're
All
so
right.
funny, and this was really cool. I'm glad you did this.
All right. Well, thank you. I enjoyed it though. I mean, we are past the Raekwon issue, so you don't have
Thank
to
God.
worry about that.
Thank God.
It is our Voldemort. It is he who we do not speak of at this point. But you guys can find me on social media at Phoenix of Baltimore, Phoenyx of Baltimore. That's my Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Comedian Phoenix, Phoenyx. You can find me on in Twitter at B Phoenix, Phoenyx. You can find me my radio show is on www.crookedstreets with a Z dot listen the number 2 myradio.com. That's on Saturdays and Sundays 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. And I'm actually, you'll probably see me like out here at a lot of hip hop shit. I've been going to a lot of hip hop shows recently. I went to see Yo Gotti and I went to see Pete Rock on Friday, and I realized that I'm fucking old. Um, I wish that these guys would get old so that they can stop performing because I feel like when they perform, I'm supposed to be there, but I'm too fucking old to be there. It's like, so it's like, you can, and you'll probably find me in aisle 7 at Walmart looking for more fucking Motrin because I'm old and I keep doing this shit, throughout the course of the week that hurts my body, but it's okay.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. All right, well, you can my
And
plugs now. You can. Oh, sorry. You got anything else?
yeah, April 8th and 9th, April 8th and 9th, I'll actually be performing at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. That's going to be a really good show. So if you follow me on social media, you'll get that. And then April 10th, I'm actually going to be performing at where am I? April 10th, I'm at Greg's Place, and if you find me on social media, you can get the address for that. And then on one of, yep, that's it. That's all I can remember right now.
Nice. All right, awesome. Well, you can find not you, Phoenix. I mean, you can too, but this is now. But, yeah,
But I do
more
need to
of
know where to find it.
yeah, that's right. Well, I'll link you, but yeah, so you can find more podcasts like this at erictriestoohard.com. Find me on Twitter at erictries and on YouTube at I guess just Eric Tries Too Hard, and on Facebook and subscribe on iTunes and blah 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 all that stuff. Well, thank you so much, Phoenix. I hope to
You're
see you
welcome.
again in the club, bar, stand up,
Is, is this
whatever.
going to be all audio? Because I think you can see all of my necks.
It's all audio. It'll
Okay.
be on. It'll be on YouTube unless you hit me up later and go, "Hey, take that off." But I only promote the audio.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right, cool. All right, have a great night. I'll talk to you soon.
You too, sweetie. Thanks a
See ya.
lot.
Anytime.